Hi, I'm Tavia, and I'm an addict.
Hey, Tavia.
If you could just take another moment of silence so that I can ask my higher power to speak through me so that I can carry my message and not my mess. Thank you. You know, it doesn't matter how many times I speak. You know, I'm like, maybe there will be like 4 people here tonight. You know what I mean? So it's easier to talk in a smaller group of people, but, you know, sometimes my higher power puts, you know, a lot of people in a room, and I don't always know why at the time. A little bit of my story, I don't like to talk too much about, like, how to get high. Like, we're all in these chairs because we know how to get high. A lot of us don't know how to stay clean, though. You know, I came in to Narcotics Anonymous when I was 21 years old, and I didn't listen to anything anybody told me. They were like, you know, get a sponsor. I was like, yeah, okay. So, like, I literally asked somebody so that if somebody asked me, I wasn't lying when I said that I had a sponsor. I didn't know her number. I didn't know how to reach her, and I didn't really care. You know, it took me a long time to get a little bit of willingness, you know, to come in here and actually do the work. You know, growing up, like, my life was easy. I had everything that I wanted and everything that I needed, but no matter what I was given, no matter how many cars my mommy and daddy bought, no matter, like, what they gave me, I always felt, like, not okay. I never felt okay in my own skin, and I remember sitting in my driveway one night. I was 15, and I had a boyfriend that was 16, and, you know, he had a hitter box, and he pulled it out, and I remember it was never peer pressure for this addict. It was always like, yes, I want some of that, you know. And I remember, like, he pulled out the hitter, and, like, I took a hit, and, like, I was like, I found everything that I had ever been searching for. And I remember for the first time feeling okay in my own skin, and I realized that these substances were doing for me what I thought, you know, I needed, you know. And it just progressively, like, got worse and worse and worse. And, you know, after I came into NA at 21, like I said, I didn't listen, I didn't do anything. So it was this constant struggle. It was a constant struggle. And once I left, because obviously that relationship didn't work out and I didn't stay clean after it, and I didn't think the rules were meant for me. You know, it took me a very, very, very long time, and a lot of those white key tags that we handed out tonight. And when I whispered in your ear that you don't ever have to use again, it's not a joke. Like, once we get here, we have a choice. And it's something that I didn't believe when I heard that. I didn't believe that, like, when I crawled in here that, like, my pain could stop. And I remember detoxing in the jail floor being like, this is the 30th time I've been here. Like, how do I not come back? What do I gotta do so that, like, I don't wind up in jail or dead? I just, like, had that light bulb moment that, like, I needed to change my life and I needed to start listening. And I wasn't there yet, you know, but when I got arrested that time, like, I thought I had hit my bottom, and I thought that, like, I was ready to change and do all that stuff. But then my boyfriend came up with $8,000 to bond me out, which my parents were not enabling me anymore. They were not coming to get me no matter what. They were not coming to get me ever again. And he got the money, and I remember being like, I'm gonna stay clean, I'm gonna do this, and literally walking out those doors, you know, when those metal doors slammed behind me, I was like, let's go. And, like, we were off to the races. And, like, the only thing different that I did this time that I had never really done before is I had picked up the phone because I wanted help. I called a treatment center. I'm still doing the drugs, but I wanted so badly to get out of it, but I didn't think that it would work for me. I like, legitimately didn't think that it could work for me. I thought I was different or unique or special or whatever, and I'm not. And because I did that, you know, long story short, like, I kept using, but I kept calling this treatment center, and then I wound up missing court, so I went back. But my lawyer had talked to the courts, and I was, like, the last person in DuPage County that was ever allowed to be furloughed to treatment because I wasn't eligible for drug court or task. When you get caught selling drugs, that is not something that you can get. I wasn't eligible for, like, help, you know, but the judge had a weak spot, and he let me go to treatment. And I remember getting there, and I remember being so freaking arrogant that I'm like, I've been in NA, I know this basic text, I know the steps because I've seen them, so, like, why am I here? And then, like, I started listening to the things that they were saying in group, and I had this like aha light bulb moment. You wouldn't be sitting in a treatment center, 90 pounds soaking wet, bruises and blood still caked on my arms from the damage that, the wreckage of my past, so to speak. And I finally clicked, like, if I shut up and listen to what they say, maybe I won't die from this disease. And I didn't think it would work for me, but that was like the beginning for me. And I was still like, I was talking with somebody like right before we went on break, and I remember this thing in treatment, like I didn't remember why the rules were there. It didn't connect. You know what I mean? Because I always broke rules and laws and like all that stuff. So like we were allowed to have candy. I had a candy pass. All I had to do was, walk my happy little butt over to like their office and be like, I want a piece of my candy that I earned. Wasn't good enough for me. I had friends in the program, so I met somebody at a meeting and they gave me all of this candy to like take back to treatment. And I remember like being sneaky and like taking out the bottom drawer and like throwing it in there. And like Lauren said, I'm not quiet. So like I'm chewing gum and I'm popping it, and we're not like allowed to have gum. So the girls start to notice, and then it's always like, hey, yo, can I get a piece of that? And I had this like the second aha moment that like I'm like literally like the candy drug dealer. And like if I don't change these behaviors, I am like going to die. And I can't explain to you how like going from somebody that was uncomfortable in their own skin and wanting to die had these aha like God moments. And for me, it's good orderly direction. And I finally got the willingness to just listen a little bit more. And then I remember going into a meeting, and it was not right when they told me to get a sponsor. It was a lot later into treatment, and I asked somebody, and I literally think like a little bit of vomit trickled down my mouth, because like I didn't know how to talk to women. I didn't know how to like ask for help, and I felt safe in this little treatment bubble. But when we went in the real world, like I just couldn't handle people or anything, or I just was afraid of the world. And but I got through all those fears because they told me that I needed to get uncomfortable to get comfortable, and I finally believed them. So I just did those things even though they made no sense. And and then when I got out of treatment, I had to go to a halfway house. And I remember I was like fighting that too. I was like, no, that's stupid. You've already kept me for like 90 days. And it's like after like I just surrendered and stopped fighting everybody, I went there and I had the best experience that I ever had. And I retained this information, and I went to meetings, and I got a legit sponsor. And if you don't know what a sponsor is, it's somebody that had what I wanted and that was going to walk me through the 12 steps of Narcotics Anonymous, because I didn't want to die, and so I picked this woman who had all these amazing qualities, and it really taught me how to like trust women and to like trust this process and to like walk through it. And I'm so glad that I finally did that, because it opened the door for this life that I never dreamed possible. I never thought that like I would be comfortable in my own skin. I never thought that like I would be the kind of person that like genuinely helps people and like cares and did good things, because like in my mind I was gonna die that rotten, dirty, thieving junkie. Period. And a huge part of like the changes for me were in the 12 steps, and I'm going to briefly go through what they were like for me. Step one, like it was hard for me when I got here. I was embarrassed to say my name is Tavia and I'm an addict, because like no, I've got control. I had no control once I put that stuff in my body. So I just surrendered that like I can't get high no matter what. And I'm just going to try to keep it very simple, And then step two for me was like, hey, dummy, like if this can work for millions of other people, like why are you so freaking special? I wasn't, so I just kept it that simple. I opened my mind, honesty, open-mindedness, and then the third is willingness, the how of the program. So step three, like I was literally willing to work the rest of the steps. Step four, I got really honest. And I remember the first thing I wrote was that one thing that like I could never tell anybody ever. And that when I got that out, the rest of it just seemed to flow, because I already knew all the things that I had done. God already knew all the things that I had done. So all I'm doing is writing it down. That's it. It's that freaking simple. you know. And step 5, it took a little bit of courage, but because I was like creating this bond with somebody that like I watched the way she walked, I trusted that if I told her this, like, and I told her everything, and we walked through it. And the whole point of that wasn't because she cared about what I did or where I had been, so I can move on to my 6th step and figure out my patterns, my behaviors, and all those character defects that are preventing my spiritual growth. You know, and then my 7th step, like, I just asked for the willingness to like be a better version of myself and to let some of those things go, but also allowing myself to be human, because I really struggled. Every time I would act out on one of those character defects, I would literally hate myself and be like, I'm not doing this right, so I'm just gonna stop. And I did, you know. And you know, my 8th step was quite simple, because I did a very thorough inventory, so all of those names were there, you know. And that's all I was doing, was writing a list of the people that I had harmed, you know, and and then step 9, I wanted to tell a little story. I remember like having this list, and my sponsor was like, which one do you not want to do? And I was like, all of them. And she's like, which one do you not want to do the most? And it was my sister, and I'll tell you why. I was in jail for her wedding. I was her maid of honor. I disappointed my family time after time after time, and I broke their hearts over and over. But my sister, at the end of the road, about 4 months before I got clean, my mom had begged her, because like I wanted to see my nephew so bad. He was like 3 months old. And my mom convinced her that like I wouldn't get high just for a couple hours, and that I would come there and I would, you know, show up, because like I wanted to see him so badly. But the reality of the disease that I had is I could not keep that stuff out of my system long enough. Like I would get sick. So like I remember bringing it with me and being like, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. So we get to her apartment in the city, or her condo or whatever. And I get there, and at the end of the road, I was literally just getting high to not get sick. I wasn't getting high anymore. I shot those 2 bags of dope, and I look at it as a God moment today, that I got so messed up that I couldn't get out the bathroom. I can't explain like how those 2 bags at that particular moment hurting somebody that like I didn't want to hurt. I just wanted to see my nephew. That's it. I just wanted to see my family and like show up. And so, yeah, sorry. I got out, so the point is like I got so high, my sister called me a bitch. And I remember, because I'm filled with anger, resentment, and fear, that triangle of self-obsession, I mean, to the core. I mean, like right there, smack dab in the middle of it. And she said that to me, and it's like, how dare you talk to me like that? You know what I mean? Like, how dare you treat me like that? And I went to hit her, and I tripped over a chair like this, and I look up, and I mean, I was going to hit her, just because that's how I knew how to handle situations. That baffled me. And I tripped over, and I look up, and she's holding him, and he's like this big. He's this itty little baby. And she's like, you're done. You're done. Like, we're done. And it didn't even like happen till that she forgave me until I had about a year clean. You know what I mean? Things take time, but it didn't matter this time. No matter what happened, I was going to stay clean no matter what, and it didn't matter who or what. It wasn't for anybody else this time. It was because I didn't want to be like that anymore. You know, so I get to this step, and I really didn't want to do that, even though we were okay. I was afraid to like rehash that. And we got through, you know, I came over to her house, and, you know, she's not like me. I'm very vocal, and I'm very emotional, and I'm very like, this is how I feel, and I can articulate it. And she wasn't. And I remember not expecting anything, but like, she was so excited to have her sister back that like the tears just came, and it was this moment. And it wasn't what I expected. I expected her to be like, yeah, okay, we're cool. Like, you know, but I had that magical moment for her. And that was the stuff that really like offered me this freedom, you know, to be a better version of myself. And then step 10 for me, just taking a look at like my patterns at the end of the day. Was I a jerk? Was I selfish? Was I impatient? You know, did I hurt anybody today? And we have an IP pamphlet that talks about it, you know. And I went through that, and it really got to the point where, like, I can do that in my head now. I know when I'm not acting right, and I know, you know, I don't even always need my sponsor anymore to be like, I'm like, call her and be like, I'm doing this. And like, that's not cool. Like, how do I stop? Like, make it stop. And she's like, yeah, we'll work through that. Like, you can get through this. You know, and I think being aware is half the battle, but it's like, then that's the problem. Like, if I keep acting on it when I'm aware, because I am not perfect because I got clean. Believe you me. I am not even trying to. My life is so much better than it used to be. On the 11th step, I still feel like I do it wrong, and I don't. It's like living clean. That's really what I break it down to. It's living the spiritual principles in my life, working the first 10 steps in my life. And I do pray, and I do live better today. You know, I do walk the walk. You know what I mean? And I'm grateful, because I don't just come in here for an hour and pretend to be better. You know, how do I act when I'm like out there in the real world? You know, that I think is where it really counts. And, you know, the 12th step for me is giving back, you know, because we don't have to live this way. I remember sitting in these meetings, like, scared in that chair, like, that it was never going to happen. Like, why can you get it? Why can you get it? But I'm sitting here like, this doesn't make any sense. It's because I never tried to get it. And if you don't think this is serious, like, I was going to write a name, but I didn't want to plan this lead. 27 of my friends, not just the people that she knows or posts about on Facebook, or that you know and you post about on Facebook, they are dying, dropping like flies. I had a sponsee that just went out for one more. She told me she was fine, seemed to be like kind of doing this, but then went out, shot a bag of dope, and it was the last thing she ever did. You know what I mean? And it is happening. After that one, it was like boom, 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 like freaking dominoes. And I get so wrapped up in my mind, like, how could you do that? Forgetting who I was. Forgetting how many years and how many Waikiteks it took for me to get a little bit of freedom. That this disease is still out there kicking ass and taking names every single day. Yeah. Every single day it is doing it. And I'm like, how could she be doing this? Like, look at what she's doing. Like, how do you not? Like, and I forget how, like, the hand was out for me and I just couldn't grab it because I wasn't ready. And when the pain gets great enough, we will change, or we will die, you know? And I don't want to die today. I love this life. I love, like, I'll end with this. I love that my niece and nephew are like, hey, Titi, I love you more than mac and cheese. Titi. Like, these are kids that I was not supposed to know. That was not my story. I came in here, I listened, I shut up, and I asked for help. And I took the, I want to say suggestions, but it's direction. Take it. You know, I took direction. And I didn't ask why, and I just did it because I wanted freedom. I wanted a better way to live. And it is here for any of you that are at the edge of your seat feeling like you just might not stay clean another night. People are dying and you don't have to. So that's all I have to share. Thank you.